Questions for Coach?
Hey, one of those games, it seemed like the officiating kind of took you guys maybe out of it, and then the missed shots affected defense. Kind of some of the things that have been plaguing you early in the season. What was your take on the game, and what was your take on the team's reaction in like those second and third quarters?
It could have been better as far as the officiating. I felt we did foul a lot in the first quarter, and then got a tough whistle in the second, where I felt we had some good defensive plays that went the other way against us. But obviously, always got to play through that. Those guys are aggressive, attacking downhill, and it went against us in the second quarter. They had 17 free throws in the first half, and so that really hurt us in the first quarter. I think they had 10 of them. And then the made and missed shots, that definitely affected our defense. We got several great looks early in the game, and I think you start to press a little bit against a team like that can really score. And we let it affect us on the defensive end, where we lost Mills several times, got back cut a bunch of times, and actually did a good job on Durant and Harden in the first half. But the other things hurt us, as well as the fouling.
And they're one of the elite teams in the East, even without Kyrie. I mean, the fact that they got up 29, and how do you kind of digest that?
I felt, and the message was, I felt that was the first game in a while that we got out hustled and outworked. They came out playing harder than us from the start. And then you compound it with the missed shots. And so, it's obviously a different game if you're making shots, and it's 29-22 after the first quarter, and we missed wide open shots, and they got the buckets I talked about with Mills and some of the other things. But you can't let it affect you. I like the way we fought back. We junked it up a little bit, and we were a shot or two away from probably a 10-point game late or midway through the fourth quarter. But can't let the offense affect our defense. We've talked about being constant on that end, and being consistent there, and relying on that when shots do not fall. And I think that affected us in the wrong way tonight.
You've been saying from the beginning here that of this turnaround that the offense was the bigger concern. It seemed like that you guys settled for a lot of shots early, that they were trying to give you those shots, and there was no kind of work behind that to get easier shots. Is that
a little bit early? The first time out, I talked about we're getting nothing at the basket, all jump shots early, and even though we got some open looks, a lot of them are one-on-one contested, semi-contested shots. I don't mind the penetrating kick where we're getting the wide open looks, which we got several of them, and didn't particularly shoot it well. It was just we didn't get anything at the basket against a team that wants to keep bodies in front of bodies. And so offensively, I felt we weren't as sharp as we could have been early. But the shots we did get that were wide open, the penetration was great. Jason was finding guys getting to the basket, and we just let it affect us, like I said, defensively by our missed shots early. So you press against a team like that because they're going to score at a high clip. It could be a different game if you make shots, but for the most part, other than some settling early in the game, we started to get downhill and get good looks. It was just a matter of making them.
Yeah, and when a team is doing that, when they're kind of packing paint a little bit, how can you get looks at the rim? Is there a way that you haven't been that you should be?
Yeah, ball and body movement is what we stressed today. If you get stagnant and isolation heavy against this team, they load up, and that's when they're really good. So you want to move bodies. We got some stuff off the ball, but really when the body was in front of us they're switching, we got to attack from that point. I talked about quick decisions and us not holding the ball. And I felt a lot of times we backed it out and held it, and they loaded up. And so we got a little stagnant there in the first quarter, especially. Got better as the game went along and got the open shots, and didn't particularly shoot it well. What you see the numbers, 11 for 48 there from three.
Obviously, Jalen, up until like half an hour before, I wasn't sure if he's going to go. How did you feel like you looked out there? And you mentioned before it's going to be kind of a game by game thing with him. How are you going to try to balance that moving forward?
Yeah, the shots they missed were, he took some contested ones, but a lot of open looks. I felt he had a good burst for the most part. It's going to be up and down a little bit. The rust is going to be there to some extent. And I'm sure some soreness and stiffness, and that's why he has to kind of test it out right before to see how he feels. And that's just what it's going to be for the next week or so. We'll see how he feels tomorrow after this with another day of rest in between. I think the build up in minutes and him just getting back to playing will kind of dictate where he goes as far as that. But if there's no setbacks, we're optimistic of him playing through some soreness and rust early on.
You obviously know Patty pretty well. When you have you know, Katie and Harden out there, and then someone like him who's just able to connect at the rate he was. A lot of those are, you know, defended well, tough shots, but he's kind of.
Yeah, but you know, the thing, our, you know, scouting report with him was make him put it on the floor. And, you know, the first 4 threes he made, he took 1 dribble. So they look like good contests, but we should be all the way up making him put it down. Other than his relocate 3, sidestep 3, that was probably the first time he dribbled. So we had some short closeouts on him where it looks like we're there, but we can really take away that space. And he's a guy that, you know, feeds off those guys. He's taking the Joe Harris role with him being out. And I think we let him getting going early, especially I think he hit their first 3 shots of the game, but not great attention to detail on him specifically, and did well on the others, but he got them going early.
You mentioned this was, you know, the first game while you guys had been outworked or household, and you know, something that kind of played you guys early, but last 11 games got out of it. Do you feel like this is just a blip on the radar on that front? Is there anything that led you to believe that this would happen tonight, or is this just?
No, I think we've kind of moved past that, and I told the group good homestand, but it could have been a great one with this game. And I felt it was more so the first half really letting the offense dictate, you know, our lack of effort or hustle on the other end, and you know they just got loose balls, a lot of back cuts, a lot of mistakes on our part defensively when we guarded the initial action well. So at that time, you know, you're missing shots. It kind of gets into your head and you get sloppy on the other end. I think that's what it was more than anything in the first half.
Got one Zoom question from Jared Weiss, coach.
Going to try to break the record for Patty Mills questions in a Celtics presser, but you had that video with, I think it was Katie's IG Live back at the Olympics where you said, you know, to lock Patty's ass up. And between Patty and LaMarcus, a lot of guys that you know their games inside and out. Do you take it personally or frustrated when the execution just isn't there, especially when it's, like you said, you're shutting down that first action, then they're relocating or pushing through a mismatch and still scoring?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, obviously, been around those guys forever, so I know them well. You know, I'm not going to take it personally as far as that. You do get frustrated when the game plan doesn't follow for particular guys. Like I mentioned, if he gets 4 open threes with only 1 dribble, that's a lack of understanding who he is, and he's been around long enough for us to know that. And like I said, it was just short closeouts. We were there and didn't, but LaMarcus has been playing well for them as well. I felt we were a little stagnant in the post as far as like getting around and just, you know, stood behind Durant and LaMarcus at times. And those are 2 guys that can really score with their length and size inside. So we could have done a better job there. But, you know, don't take it personal, but there is some frustration when we don't take away their strengths.
You guys took almost 53s. I mean, is that too much? If it's not going down in the middle of the game, do you just keep shooting them, or how do you kind of combat a night when you're shooting 22% from 3, but then it seems like you're successful when you're taking 2?
Yeah, it's a balance. We've talked about it. You know, the contested ones early in the first quarter, first half of the first quarter, we felt we weren't getting downhill at all. If it's a mix and penetration and you kick it out for wide open ones, we're always going to take those shots and just have to knock those down. So it is a balance. I think we are at our best when we were mixing it up and getting downhill, getting to the free throw line like we have these last 3 games at home. And then, you know, you shrink the court shrinks and you make the right read. And so it is a balance when you're not shooting it and they're giving you that look, it starts to get in your head a little bit and guys start pressing, but a lot of those looks are wide open that we'll take. And I've mentioned it, we're one of the teams that takes the fewest contested shots. And I think that was the case tonight, other than early in the first quarter.
Thanks, coach. We're wrapping up right there.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.